So sit back, relax, and while you're indulging in tonight's main course, I do hope I put a smile on that face.
With the game Halo Infinite just being months away and the Xbox reveal has come and passed, I have decided to do my own findings, thoughts, and research about the upcoming game. Once done with my findings, I was advised to do a video about it on YouTube from a fellow streamer by the name of Visioncy, and this is what I came up with. Now granted, I never have done a video like this before, so this is sort of my first video like this, and I hope you and everyone else loved and enjoyed this video. So here is a sound Halo Infinite campaign prediction. Not the multiplayer, but just the campaign for right now. I'm known as FlashFox, and this is your scoop of what Halo Infinite, when it releases this holiday. So we know the demo that was displayed during the Xbox reveal started in the middle of the storyline's gameplay, and you can automatically assume the preview before that, when you find Master Chief in space, that can be assumed as the beginning. Just by telling from the pilot's reactions, you can tell time has passed between the Xbox reveal and the trailer review. The pilot, when he first found Master Chief, he was filled with hope, like this is my rescue. And then during the game review, the gameplay review, you can see that he had enough of all this heroic deeds and he just wants to go home. And it's seen that some time has passed. That's how you can differentiate that the fact that the trailer was the beginning, and when the gameplay review is in the middle of the whole storyline for the game Halo Infinite. Now that we established a decent timeline of what we know so far, you can start putting together what the game will be like. And I predict, and based on everything we saw so far, Infinite will be exactly like Destiny, but with its own twists here and there. Yes, Infinite will be like Destiny. Now, you may be wondering, how is Infinite going to be like Destiny? And that will be explained all in this video when we go a little bit into the future. But right now, let's talk about the sequence of events that's happening right now. Like, everyone's wondering, while we're getting this trailer, we haven't seen a lot about what the current events that happened before and what's happening right now in the storyline is going on right now. You're wondering what's going on with the whole UNSC. What's Cortana doing? What happened to the UNSC Infinite, including the company of Fireteam Majestic, the group Fireteam from Halo 4. What happened to Fireteam Osiris? What happened to Commander Palmer? What happened to Dr. Hazley? What happened to Lasky? What happened to Blue Team? You see Master Chief, but you haven't seen none of the other 3 members of Blue Team. What if Banish is on the ring? Where's Atriox? What happened to Red Team? Spear of Fire, Dr. Anders, the Arbiter and his army, the Swords of Singelios. And with all those missing factors, this can be explained in a easy, simple way, as well as a way to make the game a masterpiece for the Halo franchise. And now, just think about this for a second. When you think about Halo Infinite, think about the first Destiny game. How you started off by yourself and you had to accomplish all these objectives until you reached the main base with all the Guardians that were in Destiny. And that was what Halo Infinite will be starting off as. Like, They don't want to shove everything at you at once. They want to establish a foothold so you can get the next sequence of events that's gonna happen. Destiny started off where you can have free reign to do all these sorts of different missions. There was no a set mission that you must do this before you can do this, before you can do that. It was all a group of missions all over the place, and you get to travel, and you have free reign of going, looking all over the map, looking at discoveries, and explore. And that's the same exact thing that the creators of Halo Infinite are seeing that you can do. That is the story progression. And now let me sort of break it down so you understand about all those categories I told you before, like where they're at and what they're doing. Let's start off with a simple thing. When it comes down to Atriox, the leader of the Banished, he is still on the Ark. He is not on the ring. That should be a known fact. And simple, just by military strategy. What is more important? The Ark is large forming structure that can create multiple rings, or a simple ring that got out of his grasp. It's really simple when you think about it. The Atriox can just stay on the Ark itself and conquer the Ark while still fighting the Spirit of Fire's team, and just send a small faction to go capture the ring that escaped his grasp the first time. A simple reason why he'll send a small army to just conquer the ring is the fact that even a ring by itself is a very dangerous weapon, and Atriox knows this. He's been battling the Covenant, he's been battling the UNC for years. He knows all about the Great Journey. He knows how powerful that ring is. That's why he doesn't want anyone to have control over it, even if he has control over the Ark. As for Cortana, the big villain of Halo 5, technically, if you want to go that route, there are two possible reasons why you don't hear anything from her in the trailer or the gameplay reveal. One is that she's on a different ring. She might have captured a different ring that's farther and maybe closer to the planet Reach. Or she can just eventually pop up later. And that will be on a later discussion where I'll tell you the reason why she might pop up later in the story. Now, another discussion is what happened to the ship and its small frigate escort of the UNSC Infinity. And it's pretty simple. It's probably destroyed. The Infinity, it may be the most powerful ship that the UNSC has, but it's not indestructible, and it's been proven before during a freighter ambush on Oath London. It was in a old comic, not too old comic, but the comic that happened in recent years, where the UNSC Infinity was struck by a laser cannon by Covenant faction groups. The cannon itself ripped right through the hull of the Infinity and disabled the ship. Now, due to the fact that when the UNSC created the ship Infinity, they created another ship as well called the Externity. And while the Externity wasn't finished yet, the Infinity was finished before that. They had to stop the production and creation of the second ship in order to take those parts and install them for Infinity's repairs. And that's why you only have one of those ships. They actually had plans to make multiple ships like the UNSC Infinity. So yes, either the Infinity is most likely destroyed or is heavily damaged and hiding in order to make repairs, with most of its crew, troops, forces, and other personnel scattered all along the ring. Now that's just a theory, There's also a theory that they might have understood where the ring is at, and they moved the Infinity to go to where the ring came from, which was the Ark, and let their small contingency group in order to continue the battle on the ring. It's possible, but it's highly unlikely, and it's most likely that the Infinity is destroyed with its crew scattered all over the ring. And it's Master Chief's job to guide those survivors and bring them all together. Now, before we get into the next predictions and most likely theories about where the other personnel or what the other factions or groups are doing, let's go back to the basis of what 343 want Halo Infinite to be. They want Halo Infinite to be a 10-year game. That's 10 years. That's a very long time for a game to last that long. Halo 5 hasn't even lasted 10 years yet. It passed the halfway mark, but it's not 10 years. How is 343 gonna make a game last that long? How is the game going to compensate the price tag of the creation of this multi-million-dollar game? And this game is coming out on Xbox Game Pass immediately when it comes out. So you're not gonna, if people have Game Pass, you're not gonna see people buying the game itself. They can just buy the game on Game Pass, which should be a lot cheaper. So how are they gonna make up all those funds? After all, even though this is a game, it is still, and a business needs to make a profit, or a business will go under. They already said there will no be microtransactions. So there might be some microtransactions in the form of the way Halo 5 Warzone had done it, because let's be honest, that's the most effective and non-predatory way to get microtransactions in a game. You do not want to follow the same route that EA has done, and it was proven that it's a very toxic way with the way they did it, as shown in games of Battlefront 2 and Battlefield 5. Battlefront 2 has come back when they removed that transaction hiccup, but it was a very bad hiccup. So how do you compensate a 10-year plan for a multi-million-dollar game? And that's really simple if you thought about the beginning of the video. Destiny. When Destiny first came out, it made a lot of money just by the game itself. But it did something that no other game has ever done. They had done a multi-year DLC expansion plan. They put DLC after DLC after DLC, extending the end of the Destiny game storyline. So it didn't stop when you actually beat the game. You could grind a little bit more and do certain tasks, and then DLC come out and it extends the storyline of the end of the game. That's a very smart way and very unique way of extending the game, and that is what Halo Infinite hopes to achieve. And when they follow these footsteps that Destiny has done, all those storylines, those questions that you had before about what these factions are doing, that's how you find out what they're doing. The DLC content will extend the story and find out everything that's going on. You can beat the game in less than a month, and then maybe a month or two later, bam, a DLC, The Rise of Atriox. And then another DLC, bam, Anders has arrived. You find out what Dr. Anders was doing on that ring. And another DLC comes out, Fireteam Osiris has entered the battlefield. You find out what happened to Fireteam Osiris. Because last time we saw Fireteam Osiris, they were on a... We saw the Spartan's head helmet on the side of a brute war armor chest piece, and if you see a helmet like that, you usually keep those for trophies, and that does not look good for Fireteam Osiris. Another DLC can come out. DLC for Spirit Fire and Red Team. Another DLC, The Return of the Covenant. Another one could be Arbiter and Sword Singilius Enter the Fray. You can have an end game content where the flood has awoken, and then like the final expansion of that end game content would be Cortana has arrived. The created versus the flood. And that's how you get all these expansions and all these storylines into one game. And that's how you can extend that 10-year game that they want. Only first person shooter game that ever had done something like this is Destiny. And talk about first person shooter, not talking about Minecraft or Fortnite. Those are not first person shooters. Call of Duty has their own 1 or 2 year game plan, but they never had a game last more than 2 years that everyone's constantly playing with more updates on and on and on. You have to understand, 343 broke off from Bungie. They still have those contacts with Bungie. They can still ask for advice and still ask for assistance and see the same playbook that Bungie has done to make Destiny. And it's not too hard for them to do that. They always said they wanted to go back to the roots of Halo. And who created Halo? Bungie. Who has the knowledge on how to make these games, these add-ons like Destiny? Bungie. And who was part of Bungie? 343. Same great minds think alike. So when it comes to the ring itself, we all saw in the gameplay that the ring is really damaged. And what is the protocol for when the ring is very damaged? It goes for repairs. And where does a ring goes back to for repairs? The Ark. So what can happen during the game itself is the ring can activate its slip space engine, because all rings can travel through space to go the right directions, and bring the ring back to the Ark in order to do repairs. And who was on the Ark? Aatrox and a Spirit of Fire. Now you have a whole mess of more combat, more battles, and a larger war going to take place. And there's also a certain things that are locked away, sneaking around on Zeta Halo. There's still the Flood, who's on the ring, and who's also on the Ark, on Spirit of Charity. Yeah. Sorry, it's not Spirit of Charity, it's High Charity. But who's on there that the Banished were fighting this long time at the end of Halo Wars 2 storyline? The Flood. They could easily combine and try to fight and take over the Banished and the UNC all together in one clean swipe. And then they have access to the Ark. That means they can travel all over the galaxy in order to spread their infection, which makes them an extremely deadly foe and an extremely powerful force that can actually stand up to Cortana and her created. Now you have two major factions with unstoppable power that can go head to head with each other now on the same playing field. Now there can also be like little small things that happen that might turn something bigger if they choose to do so. Like UNSC forces that escape from Cortana's let's say lockdown, and they can receive the Infinity's distress signal and they arrive, and that'll be a reinforcement during the game. There can also be the Prophets return, who the Prophets, and this is not just the Prophets who were part of the group from the original 3 Halos. There's going to be also the Prophets that were locked in their own home, who decide not to join the Covenant, which is the whole big storyline that could be going on until a later date. But that's an easy way to bring another side of the story and another let's say combat in their point of view. And it's also the people who created everything, the Forerunners, along with the ancient humans. You can find a way to bring them back. but you gotta do it in a very subtle way. Like you can't do it too much like a Didact, because Didact was like a very certain circumstance, and if you want to bring back a whole race of people to cause a conflict, especially some like the Forerunners, that would be very, very difficult. Possible, but extremely difficult to navigate around. And you must do it so you don't get too crazy storyline like you did with Halo 5. So, back to the campaign. So when you're doing the campaign, they a good way to follow a good way to like start the campaign is to do it straight from Destiny's playbook. The first player is Master Chief, of course. It's always gonna be Master Chief. But they do it just like Destiny has done it. And you will start off alone. In the first mission, you will be alone. You can't do co-op or anything like that. You start off alone, and you'll basically have to learn the basic controls, learn how to move around and everything. And like the little starter for like everyone to learn how to play the game. And then when you finally establish a base and you rescue some people, that's when co-op start. And if you do it the smart way, well, I won't say smart way, but a very let's just say precise and a very effective way, you can make some of those groups that you find actually be Spartan groups from the UNC Infinity that actually got off the ship. And with those Spartan groups, those are your co-op players. Those are the players that are going to be playing with you through the whole storyline. They won't have their own they won't have their own storyline background, but those characters, those Spartans that you find, those would be your own created Spartans that you have a multiplayer put in the game, just like in Halo Reach with Noble 6. Noble 6 was your Spartan, where your Spartan looked in multiplayer. With all the armor you unlock, the customization, it will be just like that, but with Halo Infinite. Your second, third, fourth player will be Spartans customized, and that would just be an amazing and very smart way to do the co-op. And a way to like add a little more flavor to the campaign Infinite, you can do it similar to what Halo 5 Warzone has done. You can have little, let's say, rec stations or communication stations all around the ring, and these little outposts that you can connect to the radio over chatter with other UNC forces. You can call in certain things. For example, you accomplished a few objectives, you did a few tasks, beat quite a few enemies, and then you unlock enough rec points to do a drop. So it can be a drop from a fire team of ODSTs, Marines, or you can do a job of a Warhog and tank to get around the map a lot faster. You can do a drop for certain weapons, certain armor abilities, ammo. Let's say, now I really hope they bring it back. The Hornet. I know they brought back the Wasp, but I like the Hornet as well. You can bring back all those vehicles through Rex, so you can have the player have true free reign of what vehicle and how they want to travel. You can even get capture vehicles like Wraiths and Banshees. It will be a little bit overkill, but if you balance out the AI right and you don't make the Banshees be too much like Halo 5's Banshees, you can see how Banshees won't be that effective, because the AI can stun you out of the sky and they'll kill you and they'll beat you really quickly. When it comes to the character development of the whole Halo Infinite, you got to, let's say, narrow down the focus on the main characters. Like Halo 5, they had too many characters developing at the same time, and they were just tossing characters at you left and right, and you trying to find out who to be focused on. That's why Fireteam Osiris didn't do so well when it comes to their character development. And while in Halo 4 with Master Chief or Cortana, their character development escalated to another level, and you got more deep and intimate with the characters. Like you already built a history with Cortana and Master Chief, and when Cortana went away, it broke your heart. And then now she's back in Halo 5 as a villain, and then they throw in Fireteam Osiris in you, they toss the rest of Blue Team in you, they toss Arbiter back in it, they toss Dr. Hazley back in it. You still have Commander Lasky and Captain Lasky and Commander Palmer, and that's a lot of characters all bunched up in one. And it took the focus out of, it took too much of the focus out of the storyline to focus on who these characters were. And a simple way to solve that is to focus on the main characters and keep all the other characters as sub-characters, just like in a movie. You got the main character and you have people who are sub-characters or attached to those characters in some form or some way. Master Chief, the people attached to Master Chief would be Blue Team and Dr. Hazley. You got Cortana, people attached to Cortana, they be the creators and the Prometheans. The Affinity, it would be Spartan teams, Captain Lasky, Palmer, Commander Palmer. That means also that includes Fire Team Majestic and also includes Fire Team Osiris. Spirit Fire, you keep Red Team. Keep the combination of Red Team, mostly more along the lines of Spartan Jerome, Commander Cutter, and Dr. Anders, and everything that revolves around Spirit Fire will focus on those three characters. And you have Aatrox, everything that revolves around the Banished goes straight to Aatrox. Aatrox is the main character, but when something happens, it will be attachment to what he's doing when it comes to Banished. With the Arbiter, everything with his army would be attached to the Arbiter. So the Arbiter still gets his screen time. He'd be the main focus, and everything that happens attached to him. So you don't have all these different storylines popping up different ways, and you don't know how to keep up with each other. This is how you keep everything tight groups, so everyone has the necessary screen time, and you don't have to be worrying about character development. The characters will develop themselves. Just like in Destiny DLC, you had the main storyline, and then when they add a character, they add a character through a DLC, and the character's DLC evolve around that character, and you learn more about that character through that DLC. At the end of DLC, they didn't get rid of the character, they didn't off him or anything like that. They kept the character there, and they went to another DLC and they focused on another main character. And that's how you can get everyone's character development out, and everyone gets their own screen time and their own storyline, along with you not jumping over the main characters. So when it comes to the worrisome part about Fireteam Osiris, how their effect from Halo 5 to Halo Infinite comes into play, it gets a little bit, you may feel a little bit worried about where their part and their play is in the game. And you don't want to get rid of a team full of characters that you spent a lot of time developing in the game because people didn't like them. We did not like them for the fact that who they are. They didn't like it because it took too much of the storyline in Halo 5, and that was a mess up. So what happens to Fireteam Osiris in Halo Infinite? We already had a preview of what the helmet looks like on their Brute's armor, and it can be they got offed, captured, or badly wounded. And with that much details and that much work put into those character developments, you don't want to get rid of them. You can put them at a side mission where you get to rescue them or anything like that. But getting rid of a character group like that after you put too much time in it and people actually form some attachments to them, it's going to split the fan base, and it's going to hurt the game more than it's going to promote and help the storyline. So put them to the side, don't get rid of them, make them sub characters, make them injured or a side mission to go help them out. and you please both fan groups. You're not gonna get rid of them. And you're not going to make them the main focus again, like in Halo 5. This is all just a prediction. With the evidence that was tossed to us, to the Halo community, and piecing together information here and there from bloggers, from leaks, and other creators, this is a pretty accurate assessment of what Halo Infinite can be, which I hope it to be, because Destiny was the first game, not the second one. The first game was a really good game and a very good way to make a game like Halo Infinite and still please everyone in the whole. This is the only campaign we're talking about. When it comes to multiplayer, you'll find that out in the month of August when they review some multiplayer campaign, which I hope they do. I did a little research, a little more research to find out the Destiny revenues for the DLCs and the game itself, and these are the figures that are popping up. And if they do this right, I'm pretty sure Halo Infinite can reach those figures and surpass them, because Halo has a lot more of a fan base than Destiny does, and Halo has more time and more character development than Destiny as a whole. So they can do a lot. They can do a lot of good things when the game comes out, but they gotta be aware of character development. They gotta be aware of microtransactions. They have to be aware of how the storyline is going to be apparent, and they got to explain a lot of things now, because they put themselves in that position where they introduce a lot of things that happen, and you start combining different storylines all together. So this is a very accurate way to do it. I hope they do it this way. These are my predictions, and I'm glad you stuck with me to the end of the video to see exactly what I'm talking about. If you look down the bottom of the video in my descriptions, you can see my Twitch. I'm not putting Instagram on there yet. I'm still building up everything. You'll see my fellow Twitch friends who convinced me to make this video, and I hope to see you on my next video if I create one. I'm pretty sure I probably will. Alright. Thank you and have a good day.